Hello everybody. So today I want to talk about the mirror modifier and how it can be used. So right now I just have my default cube set up to edit and work with. So the mirror modifier, what it does is it works off of the origin point of your object. So if I come over here to my modifiers tab and I select the mirror modifier, as you can see it doesn't really do anything. However, if I go into edit mode and I grab, say, this edge, depending on which axis I have it mirrored over, it will duplicate and mirror. So again, as I said earlier, this is all based off my origin point, which is this little orange dot at the center of objects. So if I move this off of the center of the world, as you can see, the mirror modifier didn't move. However, my origin point is now over here. Now there are several ways to move this origin point. My favorite way, or my preferred way to do it, is to go into edit mode, hit A, and then just move my object. And as you can see, now it's created two duplicates of this object surrounding this origin point. So let's turn on the y-axis. So if I turn on the y-axis, that means it's going to mirror it across here. Now if I pull this over, as you can see, I now have four duplicates. And now let's turn on the z-axis. And in order to get this one to work, I have to pull it up in the z-axis, or I could pull it down. Either way, it just mirrors it across the origin point. So as you can see, mirror modifier is actually really powerful to create simple sets of objects really quickly, or duplicates. So if I hit E, as you can see, these objects being mirrored are going to duplicate along this path. Now, that's for that particular object. Let's move it over here. How else can you use this? So for creating characters or complex shapes and models that require symmetry, this is actually an incredibly useful tool as well. So let's add the mirror modifier again. Now I'm going to go into this object right here, and I'm going to hit Control R to throw in a loop cut. And I'm just going to cut this directly in half. So if I left click and then right click again, it will place this right in the center of my object. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit Alt Z, and I'm going to delete all these faces. So select them, hit delete faces. Another way is hit X faces. As you can see, it got rid of my editable faces. However, I still have this group over here. So what this allows me to do is, if I hit Alt Z again, I can grab, say, this vertice, and I can pull it over here, and it'll mirror it exactly. So this is incredibly useful when you're doing characters, faces, or anything like that. You have it mirrored. This will also mirror UVs. So cool thing about this is, say I want to mirror it along the X and the Y axis. All I have to do is hit Control R, select those, go over here, grab these faces, and delete these faces. So now if I turn on the Y, as you can see, it will edit this area. And this is really useful because then I only really have to worry about modeling this quadrant of my object to get a fast result. So if I select all these and let's do like an inset, and then let's do a extrude faces along normals, and let's set this to offset even. So now with that set, if I hit Alt Z, as you can see, I created a lot of geometry very quickly. And I only had to worry about this. I didn't have to worry about proper quad flow or anything like that because any geometry, if it's proper quads over here, it'll be proper quads when you combine it all together and create your object again. So let's move this over here. I'm going to add another cube. And this time I'm really going to tear this one apart. So I'm going to hit Control R, Control R, and Control R. And now I'm going to take this to the next extreme. I'm going to select these three faces. I'm going to hit Control I, delete faces. So now I've just got this one little corner of this object. So now if I come up here and I go to mirror modifier, as you can see with x-axis on, it turns that on. Y, and Z. So now all I have to do is work in this section, and I can get all four corners to do whatever I want. And it saves me from having to worry about any of this stuff. Now, say you want to start, you want to move things about and you just want to scale this up. Because if I go ahead and I start pulling this stuff apart, as you can see, things start to move and they start to separate. If you don't want that to happen, just turn on clicking or clipping over here on the mirror modifier. So now if I try to move this, as you can see, my object is now behaving as if those vertices are combined together. Now, this can be incredibly useful if you have a limited tile space for whenever you're doing like UVs and unwrapping and stuff. Just realize that anything you paint over here will be duplicated onto all four sides. So let's say I grab this face, I hit I extrude by hitting Alt E, faces along normals. I'm going to do an offset even so I get a nice even spacing. I'm going to select these, let's grab these three corners and let's bevel these. I like to do an odd number, that way it's pretty easy to unwrap. I just cut along this particular edge. So let's start unwrapping. So I'm going to grab these, grab this, this. I'm actually going to grab these edges right here. And let's see how well this unwraps. And I'm going to grab these corners. Like such. Okay, so right click, mark seam. Let's actually grab these bottom edges right here. Separate these faces out. So I got that selected, right click, mark seam. And this one, I'm also going to cut right there and right here. Right click and mark seam. So now, I'm actually going to go into object mode. I'm going to duplicate this and move it over here because I'm going to show you the differences between this. So if I come over here, go back to edit mode, hit A to grab everything and U unwrap. Let's go to my UV editing space. So as you can see, this is what it came up with. It's not great. What I could probably do is grab this. I'm going to turn on auto merge vertices. I'm going to hit GG. I'm going to pull this down to the vertice and I'm going to merge it. And I'm going to do that for all of these corners. And I'm going to grab this edge, this edge, this edge. Let's see. Actually, let's unwrap that and see how it looks. So U, unwrap, actually A, U, unwrap. It's not great. So let's cut these corner pieces out. Remember, mark seam, A, U, unwrap. A little better. It's not perfect, but it's a little better. So now I've got these unwrapped. As you can see, the texture space that this takes up is very small. Now, if I come over here into this area, actually, let's go over here. Let's delete this. Now that I've cut these UVs, I'm just going to duplicate it, pull it over. Now, if I come over here, and let's apply this mirror modifier. So what that did is now I have an entire mesh that is editable. Now I have to hit U and unwrap. As you can see, I've got a very large amount of these cut up. Now, this is incredibly useful if you need to have a variety of information on each one of these, sections. However, as you can see, this particular area takes up less than this particular area does. So I can put a lot more texture density within these certain areas. But the only problem with this is anything I do over here will be copied to all of these quadrants. Whereas this allows me to have more freedom, but keep up the clean cuts. And that will be it for the mirror modifier. Let me know if you have any questions. And I will see you in the next video.